Hey, welcome to the Bad Iron Podcast. This is Thursday, September 4th, 2025, and it's opening day for NFL season, and I love it when this happens. One of the best days of the year. I love it when college football starts, and now this week we get Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. That's 5 straight days of football. I'm so excited. We kick it off tonight. Tonight we're just going to talk about a few things real quick, give you a few pointers about wagering on the NFL if you choose to do so. And I'm not going to have any stories tonight, but we're just going to talk about a few of the games that are coming up this weekend, and then I will be back at some point to talk about more of those in the near future. But let's get started real quick and start with some stats for opening week of the NFL. If you remember, opening weekend of college football, I gave out a little tip about first quarter unders, and man, did those hit. They were over 80%. Their first quarter unders, teams come out a little vanilla, defenses are ahead of the offenses. That's not so much a trend in the NFL. NFLs do trend under in the first week of the season, but it's much more difficult to identify them. However, if you just flat bet unders in every single game last weekend in college football, you won your bets at the tune of 65%, and that's pretty darn good. But right now, for this moment, we're going to talk about the NFL since that kicks off tonight with Dallas and the Philadelphia Eagles. Hopefully you're listening to this before the game, not after it. But if so, we'll talk about a few other games going along the way. So here's a few stats to think about. And these are historical facts. These are not just random off the top of my head. These have been going on for several years. We're going to start with Jim Harbaugh, the coach of the Chargers, versus the Chiefs in Sao Paulo, Brazil. They play tomorrow night, so take this with a grain of salt. Right now, the line is 3.5 in favor of the Chiefs. Jim Harbaugh, as an NFL head coach, is 5-0. That's right. He's 5-0 straight up, and he's 5-0 against the spread by an average of 8 points beating the spread. That's hard to argue. 5 in a row. Now, Andy Reid, as we've talked about, if you've been listening, he's amazing when he has time to prepare. He's 10-2 straight up in the first game of the season in his career. 10-2 straight up, but not as great against the spread. For me, the play here is not to bet one of them to win, although I think the Chargers had just as good a chance to win this game as the Chiefs. The play here is the 3.5. You get that little hook on the 3.5 points. The Chiefs, as last year, like to win close games. The Chiefs are my team. I'm rooting for the Chiefs, but with that record of Jim Harbaugh, with that time to prepare, 3.5 points, I think it's too much. So that's going to be one of my plays, are the Chargers plus 3.5 versus the Chiefs, but make sure you get it in case it goes back down to 3 or even 2.5. Who knows where that line may move. The next team we're going to look at in the NFL are the Cincinnati Bengals. They are historically horrible starters, and most people know that. Burrow is 1-9 straight up. Joe Burrow is 1-9 in the first game of the year, and 3-7 against the spread. Cleveland at home is getting 5.5 points. Watch this line; it's moving towards Cleveland, but you cannot bet against that trend, in my opinion, even if you think Cincy is the much better team. I think Cleveland is supremely unknown. Maybe they're tanking, maybe they're not. It's going to be hard to tank in the first week of the season. That's going to make for a long 17-game, 19-week season. But Cleveland plus 5.5 is the play here based on the way Cincinnati typically starts their season under Joe Burrow. Another thing that's always been a trend is to bet against first-year quarterbacks, especially first-year quarterbacks on the road. We have 2 of them, McCarthy for Minnesota and Cam Ward for Tennessee. So Minnesota right now is a 1.5-point favorite at Chicago. There's a double play here I'll get into later. And Denver is 7.5-point favorite against Tennessee and Cam Ward. Now, a first number one pick first-time starter is 5-22 against the straight up and 8-20 against the spread week 1. That tells me Denver's going to roll. Cam Ward's going to struggle. He may be great in the future. Tennessee doesn't have a lot to go along with him either. So watch out for that one. Minnesota, Chicago, I'm going to wait on because I got a double play on that one coming up later because that is a divisional game, which matters in the first week. A couple of small things. First week of the season, Arizona has been historically bad. Straight up as a favorite. They are a favorite at New Orleans. Watch out for them. Watch out for New Orleans to keep it close. Jacksonville is horrible as straight up as a favorite in general. They're favorites this first week against Carolina, 3.5 points. Watch out for them. Another interesting fact, going back to the Chargers versus the Chiefs, is that a team that loses the Super Bowl by 14 or more points, which the Chiefs did, they're 4-7 straight up and 2-9 against the spread in their next week, week 1. Another reason that you would lean to the Chargers in that first game. Green Bay, Detroit, an awesome game coming up later. I'll have my pick on this game coming up on Saturday for the podcast for this game. But just so you know, Dan Campbell, 11-3 against the spread in September. And Jared Goff, yes, Jared Goff, opposite of Burrow, is 8-0 against the spread in home openers. This is, I'm sorry, not just home openers, in openers, period. He's 8-0 against the spread. However, Green Bay, 15-3 against the spread in their first 3 games under Matt LaFleur. Take that for what you want. Those kind of buffer each other out. I'm not sure where to go there, but wait for Saturday. I just wanted to throw those stats out there because those matter, and those will matter in future years as well. Another big one that I love are when you have divisional games in the first week of the season. There's other plays later on in the season, but I love divisional home underdogs. We got a few of them. We'll talk about them here in just a second. In a divisional game, home underdogs are 23-7 against the spread. Rivalry divisional games in the first week. And then the underdogs in divisional games that are 6 or more are 49-27 against the spread. So those are pretty incredible numbers that we're going to look at as we take a look at some of the games. Philadelphia versus Dallas. That would tell you Dallas is at home and they're an underdog, and that's a divisional game. On the other hand, I don't like Dallas in this game, but that divisional home underdog 23-7 against the spread sure would tell you that Dallas is getting the points, or should be getting the points in that game. Kansas City Chargers is a divisional game. The underdog is the Chargers. They do well in those opening week divisional games. We've got Tampa Bay and Atlanta. Woo, exciting game. We're all going to be running to this. I'm going to get the NFL ticket just for this game. Not. Tampa Bay's a favorite at Atlanta, so you got a home divisional underdog. I like Atlanta money line there. We talked about Cincinnati, Cleveland. Already Burrow's bad in the first week. Add on to that, this is a divisional game, and we have a home underdog in Cleveland. Give me Cleveland all day. I may even bet them on the money line to upset Cincinnati, which would absolutely tear some people's hearts out as they're trying to tank to get a quarterback in the first round next year, even though they took 2 this year, like they need 15 quarterbacks in the quarterback room. Make up your mind, Cleveland. We've also got a few more games coming up. Washington versus the Giants. Interesting. Washington's the favorite, but they're also at home. So the home underdogs doesn't really apply here. But underdogs of 6 or more, whether they're at home or on the road, are still 49-27 against the spread. So I kind of like the Giants here to keep it close, especially if that gets to 7 points. Let's see. We got San Francisco at Seattle. San Francisco's favored. Like Seattle here. Home underdog in a divisional game. So those are some of the... Oh, we also have one more, which is on Monday night, but we'll get to that later. Minnesota at Chicago. Another divisional game with a home dog in Chicago. Give me Chicago all day in that one as well. We'll see where that line goes between now and Monday. So that's some of my plays in the NFL. We did pretty good last week. Had a winning week. Over-unders. I didn't post those all here, but those did super well for you in that first week in college football. Hopefully you had them. Those do not apply going forward in week 2. I'll have additional college football games on here, but I just wanted to have a quick podcast for you, get these little tidbits out there if you decide to dabble in the NFL and some of those betting lines. Good luck to everybody, and enjoy the NFL season, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a good one.